And speaking of which, PFF with OU at number 13 in the nation. Phil Steele has his power ranking, which indicates how good he thinks the team is. Then he combines it with the schedule. He's got Oklahoma as the seventh best team in the country. Now he combines that with the difficult SEC schedule, and he's got a number 20 ranking. Athlon says the Sooners at number 16, number 8 in the SEC. How much of that's reality versus just giving Oklahoma its typical due respect as a brand?
Yeah, well, I think there's, we were having this conversation last night on the OU Insider Under the Visor podcast, but I think there's some truth on both fronts when you're talking about the transition for Oklahoma to the SEC. Is on the one hand, yes, there needs to be some respect to hold out for what Oklahoma is as a brand, the coaching staff that they have in place, and the talent that they have not only retained on the defensive side, but brought in on the offensive side to set themselves up well for 2024. But also the SEC is a meat grinder. And so I don't really know where I stand. I think it's going to be hard to render a definitive judgment until we see some games this fall. Non-conference play might not tell us everything, but I think it'll start to give us a sense of who's real and who's not in the SEC. But Oklahoma's not going to be a pushover in the SEC. By no means are they going to walk in and dominate that conference. That should not be the expectation that anyone has, even the most diehard of Sooner fans. And I would hope that there's nobody that does have that expectation. There's going to be an adjustment period into the SEC, no question about it. But Oklahoma's not going to jump into that conference and be an also-ran. That is not their standard. That is not their expectation. And you look at the talent that they have on both sides of the ball heading into 2024. That's not a 6-7 win team. That's an 8-9, maybe 10 win team.
Is there a concern, Parker, whether it's from the fan base or from people that are more in the know, a more reasonable concern that Texas is getting away, that 2023 was a strong indication of where Texas football is headed, and maybe they're getting away from Oklahoma, even though the Sooners, of course, won the game on the field?
Yeah, no, I don't think so, Mark. And I think, look, if you look at Oklahoma and Texas's seasons, their respective seasons in 2023, certainly Texas made the college football playoff. Oklahoma went to the Alamo Bowl. The Longhorns won 12 games. They were 12-2. Oklahoma was 10-3. So there's some separation there. But Oklahoma lost a couple of the close games that they played with ranked opponents in Kansas and Oklahoma State. Those were their two losses in Big 12 play. And Texas escaped when they were challenged by a couple of those same, and not even ranked. Yes, Kansas State played them close at home. That game went to overtime. They got to run for their money from Wyoming in non-conference play. So I think there's a
Houston.
and Houston, exactly, Houston. And so there were several of those games for both programs, right, that could have gone either way. And I think the way that many, and this, I don't think this is exclusive to Oklahoma fans, I think the way that many are looking at it is there's a degree of variance, of fluctuation there that just happened to fall in Texas's favor in 2023, and the degree of separation between those two programs in 2024 and beyond is not terribly large. I might even say, and look, Mark, Texas has a much easier schedule than Oklahoma in 2024. Much easier. Texas ought to win more games looking at their schedule versus Oklahoma's. But I think Oklahoma's got the better roster in 2024. You look at all that Texas lost. They had 11 players drafted, which, hat tip to them. Steve Sarkisian and his staff, they're developing. Good on them. But you got to replace 11 NFL-bound guys. Those aren't the only guys you got to replace, right? They lost guys that maybe aren't NFL talent, but graduated having held a role of some kind with Texas football as part of the starting 22. And so Oklahoma brings back 9 of 11 starters on defense. They replaced Dylan Gabriel at the quarterback position with a former 5-star quarterback signee in Jackson Arnold. And so, yeah, I don't think that's even a hot take. I'd say Oklahoma has the better roster. I'd say Texas is set up better from a scheduling standpoint. And I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see which of those two teams comes out with the upper hand record-wise this fall because of that give and take discrepancy there.
And I don't know if anyone caught this. At 11 p.m. Eastern time today, I'm texting with Mark. I didn't even know this. I was at work. He texted me and said, hey, you may want to talk about this. Parker Thune, who covers Oklahoma and does a good job. I respect him. He does a really good job, has way more clout than me. I hope at some point to be on the stage that Parker Thune's at. He does a fantastic job. But he said Oklahoma has a better roster than Texas. My response to Mark on that was he should be drug tested. Because no, they don't. No, in no world does Oklahoma have a better roster than Texas. No world. By the way, this is how I know he's wrong on this, guys. If I go to Lindy's, which I have upstairs, Texas is ranked ahead of Oklahoma in everything. Or not everything. I shouldn't say that. They're ranked ahead of Oklahoma. People think they're going to have a better year. If you check Phil Steele's magazine, by the way, I didn't know this. Mark told me this as well. He has Oklahoma ranked as the 7th best team in the country. Guess what? He still has Texas ahead of him. If you look at the composite at 247, team talent roster, Texas has a more talented roster. Literally anywhere you go, Texas is better. Anywhere. If you want to ask anyone, Texas has a better roster. Everyone except one guy, an Oklahoma fan. So who am I going to trust? Am I going to trust everybody, the 99% that have little to no affiliation with Texas, and say they have a better roster? I'm going to trust the one guy over here with Oklahoma that says Oklahoma has a better roster. Texas has a better roster, and we're going to break this down. We're going to talk about it. Are there certain position groups that are better at Oklahoma than I thought they were? Absolutely. There's a couple of position groups I would trade with Oklahoma. But as a roster and depth-wise, this is not close. It is not close, guys. It's not. And my issue is be realistic, because you're selling your fans a load of crap is what you're doing. What's going to happen is you've built these expectations now. They're going to say, hey, we should win 9 or 10 games. No, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. Guess who doesn't think that as well? Las Vegas. They have the over-under set at 7.5, and they have that set a good reason. Yes, as he pointed out, Oklahoma has a better schedule than Texas. No doubt. SEC schedule's harder by 2 games. I think there's 2 games on there that are harder. What I mean by that, okay, so Texas has, I'm thinking 3 to 4 hard SEC games. I think Oklahoma has 6. I think there's a 2-game difference there. So do they have a harder schedule? Yes. But it's not that much harder to where I think Texas is going to win 10 games. If Oklahoma is a better team than Texas, Oklahoma should win 9 games this year. They should win 9 games, period. You can be 1 game less with a harder schedule. You cannot be 8-4 and sell me the load of BS that you're better than us. If they go 8-4 and we go 10-2 and that's your schedule, we are better than you. You're not 2 games difference is not a schedule. If you're really like the 7th best team in the country, like Phil Steele says, you should win at least 8 games with that schedule. At least. You should be between 8 and 10 wins. And they're going to win at most 8 games. I'm telling people that right now. Oklahoma's going to have a solid first season in the SEC. I think they're a 7 or 8 win team. They're not 9 or 10 wins. They're just not. And we're going to dive deep into that in a second. Are we talking softball? Yeah, they might be talking softball. I don't know. We've gone back in time, and Baker Mayfield is back in OU, baby. Shake and bake. Yeah, apparently they've just gone. What they have is the all-time team versus this Texas team. They got Baker Mayfield, Billy Sims, Joe Mixon, CeeDee Lamb, Marquise Brown. They have all those guys, and we have this team. That's what they have, apparently. I'm glad he's at my Bucs now. I didn't even know you're a Buccaneers fan. Yeah, he was solid, and they re-signed him, which I thought was smart. It's just crazy, and we'll jump into it in a second. I want to get through your guys' comments. Arch Manning went 2-5 versus Texas. I agree. Not enough sample size. That's why this is 100% a fun segment, John. Just wanted to get the opinions of other people as well, so it's going to be interesting. Ewers should be preseason Heisman watch. Is it okay? Is Oklahoma's QB in that conversation? Absolutely. I mean, is he in that conversation? Yeah, he's probably in the top. I bet I don't know Heisman odds. I know Quinn Ewers is first or second. Jackson Arnold's probably like 15th, honestly, because it's mostly quarterback. So he's probably like 15th, something like that. I could be wrong. I think he could be higher. He's probably, if I had to guess, somewhere between 8 and 15. Clearly depends on if the SE allows OU to continue to hold and tackle every play. Yeah, we can talk about that. Ewers in the conversation. Absolutely, John. I was shocked when Mark ranked Quinn the number 1 quarterback in the country. I wouldn't go that far. I think like I said, you can debate. I guess I would. You can debate Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers. That is 100% a debate. I think those are the two best quarterbacks in the country. It's hard for me when I ranked quarterback rooms. I ranked Texas above Georgia only because of Arch Manning. I thought those two guys were even. Then when we went to backup, I went with Arch Manning over Georgia's backup. So there's a debate there 100%. If someone would say Carson Beck is the best quarterback in the country, go ahead and say that. I have no issue. Anyone else, honestly, I wouldn't debate with. I think those are the two best quarterbacks. But we'll run through these real quickly. I couldn't put together enough in time to go super in depth on this, but to be fair on this, there's some I'm going to agree Oklahoma's better at. But at quarterback, like I said, 7 games for Jackson Arnold, 63.8% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And I was nice on this, guys. By the way, I did this. I took Quinn Ewers and did his average. I didn't take his first year or his second year, which the second year was much better. I averaged out his first year and his second year, and this is his statistics. 64.3% averaged out between the 2 years, 2,828 yards, 8.2 yards per attempt, so they're even there. Quinn's a little bit better completion percentage-wise. 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So honestly, Jackson Arnold might be able to equal those touchdowns. His interceptions would be way higher, though, if he played a whole season. And this is what I'm talking about because Quinn Ewers took a gigantic jump. So between year 1 and year 2, 11% completion percentage jump, 7 more touchdowns, and 1.4 yards more per attempt. So I was kind in averaging out year 1 and year 2. There's no debate here. Quinn Ewers is a better quarterback than Jackson Arnold. So that's 1 point for Texas right there. I'm just going to tally this up into points. SEC running back rooms. I already ranked these guys. I had Texas as the number 1 ranked SEC running back room. Even if you disagree, the lowest you could possibly go is 4. That is the lowest you could go. And it's Jaden Blue, Cedric Baxter. Jaden Blue averaged 6.1 yards per carry. Cedric Baxter 4.8 in his freshman year with 659 yards. Javonte Barnes, who returns for them, got hurt. He always gets hurt. He played in 7 games last year, only averaged 3.8 yards per carry. Gavin Sawchuk did have a good year, 6.2 yards per carry and 9 touchdowns. And then you have Taylor Tatum with the number 1 running back in the country coming in out of high school. Not enough production. We have 2 guys right there. Plus, fine, you have the number 1 running back in the high school coming out. We have Jarrett Gibson, the 4th best running back. We have Christian Clark, the 20th best running back. We have Trey Wisner, who will come in and get good carries. We go 5 deep at running back. They go at most 3. And if Javonte Barnes gets hurt again, you have 2 guys. You have 2 guys, and one of them in Gavin Sawchuk is okay. He was like their 4th string running back last year until people weren't performing or got hurt, and he had to step in. Texas wins this running back room. Even if you want to knock us down, like I said, I have his 1st in the SEC running back room. Knock us down to 4th. I have Oklahoma 9th. Hell, I'll bump them up to 6th. We're still better than you. That's 2-0 Texas. Wide receiver room, this is close. If you want to debate this till the cows come home, you can do that. Texas, I have as the 3rd best running wide receiver room in the SEC. We did this last week, and go check out the video on the SEC channel. I have Oklahoma as 4th, so they're right there. I'll give us each a point. It's 3-1, 3-1. This is where it isn't close, and people need to realize this. Offensive line, we have 4 out of 5 returning offensive linemen. Anyone want to venture a guess how many offensive linemen returned for Oklahoma? I'll wait a minute. I'll jump into your comments, and I'll take some guesses too. And did you play any non-conference team like Ewers? True. Blue was the top running back in the nation his junior year. Yes, people forget about that. Then he set out his senior year and dropped. Cedric Baxter and Jaden Blue, if Jaden Blue plays his senior year in high school, are back-to-back number 1 running backs in the country. Corey Peacock, thank you. They have 0 returning offensive linemen. 0. And all I'm going to hear is, well, we got this guy from North Texas who was an all-freshman. That was North Texas. Congratulations. Do you want a cookie? You have 0. 0 returning. You have Jacob Sexton, who was a highly rated player coming in a couple years ago. He will start. I do like him. I think he's going to be a good player. Let's see. You have Troy Everett. He played in 9 games last year. Okay. You have Spencer Brown. This is probably your best offensive lineman. He transferred in from Michigan State. I believe he's a 5th or 6th year senior. I do like him. Then you have Garion Hatchett, who played at Washington. He started 4 games. There's a reason he only started 4 games. Basically, what you did is you took the 5th or 7th, one of the 6th or 7th best offensive linemen from these teams and brought him for you to start. other than the guy that transferred from North Texas, Fabici Newton. He was good. We'll see if it translates to the SEC. But every one of these guys was a rotational player that couldn't start for a reason. And now they're supposed to start the whole season for Oklahoma. That ain't happening. So I just don't understand this. Texas wins that. It's 4-1. I will say, when we get to defense, which we want a second, it is much closer there. It is much closer there. Offense, it is not close. Our offense is way better than Oklahoma's, and it's going to be for a while because we recruit the quarterback position a little bit better than them. And also, offensive line right now, we're recruiting better. With this class, that could obviously change. It could definitely change. If we snag Davidson and Marsh, it's a wrap. That would be a good snag for you guys. Marsh, I know he visited Texas a couple weeks ago. Or was it last week? Yeah, it was last week, Andrew Marsh. Yeah, I think you guys ended up with him moves. Didn't Bradford get hurt when Oklahoma experienced on the line? It could happen again. That is a very good point, James. That is a possibility. Let's go to defensive ends. And by the way, let's say this. I'll give them props here. 79% of returning production for Oklahoma. Guess what? You were 49th in the country in points against and the 77th defense overall. So is that a good thing that you're returning that much production? Is it? We'll see. Defensive ends. Ethan Burke, Barron Sorrell, Colin Simmons, Trey Moore, Colton Vasek, Justice Finkley. We wiped them out of the water on this. This is not close. Our defensive ends are probably the best. It is. It's the 100% strength of the defense. They have Ethan Downs, Trace Ford, who is a linebacker converted to a defensive end now. He did play a little bit of defensive end at Oklahoma State, but he's not that good. Think about that. That's your second best defensive end, guys. He's not better than Ethan Burke. He's not better than Barron Sorrell. He's not better than Colin Simmons. He's not better than Trey Moore. He'd probably be our fifth string defensive end at best. And he's going to start for you guys, most likely. Or be the backup. Either one. He's going to get a lot of playing time. He would not touch the field very much at Texas. Defensive ends, Texas wins this. So what are we up to, guys? We're up to 5-1 points-wise. And I don't think this can really be debated. If you guys want to debate this or know anyone that wants to debate it, we can debate it. Defensive tackles, you do win here. Much better here. Talent-wise, I think depth-wise, we are better here with Jermaine Lole, who we stole from you, by the way. And then we also have Bill Norton, Tia Sevilla, Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins, those guys. If Alfred Collins could play up to his potential, I think you could make a case for Texas here. But Dominic Williams has played to his potential. Davis Stone is highly recruited, really good player coming out of high school. DeJoun Terry was really good for them last year. So I do think at defensive tackle, Oklahoma is better. So it's 5-2. Now, if Alfred Collins has a really good season and takes that next step forward, they're not, and this would be 6-1. But 5-2. Next up, you're going to win another one. Linebacker. Danny Stutzman and Kip Lewis are a hell of a combination. Danny Stutzman's a really good player. Again, this basically teeters on one player for Texas. If Anthony Hill can be the guy who we think he can be, I think we have a better linebacker core than they do. With him, Benda, Blacko, Liano, Lafau. But I've seen Danny Stutzman at his best. I have not seen Anthony Hill at his best. I think Anthony Hill will be a way better player than Danny Stutzman when he does reach his full potential. But right now he's not. So I will give Oklahoma that. It is 5-3, guys. So they have closed it. And this is where we extend the lead for Texas a little bit more. The cornerback position. Not close. This Oklahoma secondary last year was terrible. One of the worst in the country. They got torched through the air when they played good offenses. Oklahoma State and Texas killed them. These guys commit penalties. They don't create turnovers. They're not good cornerbacks. You have Woody Washington, Makari Vickers, Gentry Williams, who I do like, and Kenai Walker. Manny Muhammad would be by far the best cornerback on Oklahoma. He's the best cornerback at Texas. I think Javion Cole would be the best cornerback at Oklahoma. I think Gavin Holmes would probably be the second best cornerback at Oklahoma. He's our third, maybe even fourth best cornerback by the end of the season. Texas wins this 6-3. Also, I didn't even throw Jahdae Barron there at the nickelback position or Jalen Gilbo, who would definitely start at Oklahoma, but we don't need to do that. Safety is a little bit closer. I do like Billy Bowman. I do like Peyton Bowen. I think if we're going top end here, those two versus our best two, I might take Oklahoma. If we're going depth, I would take Texas. It's hard because you know what? We'll call it a draw. I've given two draws. I think I think this one in the wide receiver room you can completely argue either way. There's some other rooms in here you can completely argue either way, but I think those are the closest two in my opinion. So tie, so that's 2 ties. So with most rooms going to Texas and a couple ties in there, I have 7 points for Texas and 4 points for Oklahoma. On top of when you go to 247, who has the better roster? Texas. When you go to Phil Steele, who does this for a living? And I think he's overrating Oklahoma at 7th, but I think he has Texas at 2 or 3, maybe even 4. Guess what? Still better than Oklahoma. Lindy's has Texas better. Athlon has Texas better. Everyone and their mother has Texas better. But, debate with a wall, I guess. Oklahoma apparently is better. Bowman is a player. 100%. Oklahoma has good players. There's no debate about that. Oklahoma, I think, will probably be the 12th to 18th best team in the country. They are not the 7th best team in the country like Phil still thinks. They are not better than Texas. They will not be better than Texas. They weren't better than Texas last year. Did they beat Texas? Absolutely they did. But that's a 1-game sample size. Over the season, Texas was a better football team. Special teams, I didn't rank that. I think it's about even, honestly. I think kicker-wise it's even. Texas does have a freshman punter. I have no idea who punts the ball for Oklahoma. If you want to give them that, fine. But it's still 7-5. That would still make Texas the winner. So I have Texas winning. I hope Texas beats the crap out of Oklahoma this year now because of all the stuff he said, honestly. We'll see if it happens. By the way, here's this. To say I'm not objective, because I'm sure when this is clipped and put on here, it's going to get a lot of views. Oklahoma is a better football team than Texas all the time. They are. They're a better program. They're probably the 2nd or 3rd best program in the history of college football. They are not better than Texas this year. They don't have more talent. They aren't better on offensive line in the trenches where it matters. They aren't better at the quarterback position, the most important position in sports. The only debate you have is the interior of the defensive line. The defensive ends is not close. Texas is way better at defensive end. Colton Vasek, who would be our 5th guy most likely, maybe 4th if he has a really good year, would start for you. We are better than Oklahoma this year, and we will be better than Oklahoma. And in October, I hope we beat the crap out of them.